Good morning, everyone. My name is Anthony Kazazis, and I am the director of the NYC Network Group, as well as the NYC Real Estate Expo. I want to welcome you all for coming out this morning and supporting this is actually the third week that Roos Advisories has been with us. Their first lecture that they gave was defining moments for your team. Last week, they came out and talked about creating a culture of coaching. And this week now, they're going to be talking to us about coach your team to the optimal profession. So without further ado, I'd like to read off the bios of our guest speakers. Larendee Roos. Larendee Roos is the founder and CEO of Roos Advisors. Since 2003, she has served as a strategic business advisor to over 200 management teams, ranging from startups to publicly traded companies. She is skilled in every aspect of business development, sales, administration, finance, and operations. During her executive career, she has advised more than 100 asset purchase, mergers, and company acquisitions. Her partner, Boucher, is the president of Roos Advisors. He is also a director of Masters of Human Resources Executive Program for Utah State University. He was the Chief Human Resource Officer for Extra Storage Space, a self-storage REIT. During his 14 plus years, he has helped the company transition from 150 employees and 38 properties to a publicly over 3,000 employees and 1,100 properties. He is also a SHRM certified professional. Their company is dedicated to assisting business owners and C-suite executives to build agile teams that are more productive, more profitable, and truly satisfied in their lives and careers. As a DISC certified specialist, they facilitate seminars, training around management, leadership, sales, marketing, operations, human resources, including recruitment, education, and retention. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Larendee Roos.
Thank you, Anthony. So for those of you that have been with us for the last couple of weeks, welcome back. And for those that are just joining us, welcome to our family. We're going to start off this morning talking about a notable key figure that many people know and have admired, Michael Jordan. And he said that talent wins games, but teamwork and intelligence win championships. We're going to be talking about that this morning. We're going to be talking about teamwork. We're going to be talking about how emotional intelligence really can be the exponential differentiator between those who are average and those who are peak performers. So as Anthony already mentioned, the first week we reviewed the 5 principles for building cohesive teams, and this is based on the work by Patrick Lencioni in his 5 dysfunctions of a team. And what we know is that trust, productive conflict, commitment, accountability, and results, in that order, are the principles that build cohesive teams. We also reviewed that to have effective teams requires aligned and committed leaders. So last week, we introduced the concept of a culture of coaching and the benefits of systematic reviews of personal goals and accountability that can pay big dividends. We started with helping each team member to find their personal purpose and the goals that ensure the coaching structure that provides and builds success for the individual and the team and the company. So with personal vision for growth, commitment to what matters to that team member, commitment to the team provides happiness. And we know that there are 5 different drivers for happiness. 1, employees trust their team, their leadership and their team members. And also one of the things that we pointed out was that when the employee can be more highly engaged with us, then there can be cohesion and alignment. So what if you had a personalized employee handbook for each team member that helped you know their strengths and tendencies, as well as areas for improvement in basic workplace ethic, emotional intelligence, productive conflict, management, and leadership? How would that be to be able to key in and identify and help the employee be very self-aware, and that you were able to tap in and understand what drove them as well? So using simple tools, we have the ability to really connect with each team member and help them become responsible for owning their strengths and weaknesses, and to take responsibility for their personal and professional development. So we believe that everyone has the answers within them, the answers to guide them to their highest peak performance. So what is the difference between high performers and average performers? Well, for one, the average person reads 5 books per year, and peak performing CEOs read 60 books per year on average. Why does this matter? Because we really believe that one of the 6 basic human needs is growth. It's actually 5 out of 6. The 5th one out of 6. And as we're growing and learning, then we have the ability to feel significant, inspired, have a greater sense of contribution, which can then help our team members. In addition, we have the opportunity, as we become more aware of these tools, to make them a part of our structure and our infrastructure. So it's not just assessment we take and then it goes in the drawer. We actually can utilize these assessments in practical, tactical ways. We're going to show you today how that's possible in a very short period of time. So there really is no excuse for why we aren't keyed into this, because it's been our experience that very often we'll often find reasons, our ego will try to find reasons why we're not going to help ourselves succeed. And one of those things is, well, I don't have enough time, or if I only had more time. And we're going to show you how in literally less than 15 minutes, sometimes 10, sometimes 5, how we can bring these principles and tools into place. So one of the things too is when we know ourselves and we know process, not perfection, then we're able to create the systems and processes that increase the likelihood of success. So I'm going to turn the time over to Bruce now, and we're going to now talk about what drivers we can look to that bring our team success.
Thanks, Larendee. So as you think about this idea, and particularly about personalizing this idea, what would happen, for example, if your team members had drivers or motivators, things that influence them, and they were drivers such as steadiness and conscientiousness, working at things at a pace that's maybe a higher level and with more energy, and they were more conscientious about the products that they were generating. Or what would happen if they were utilizing a perspective or a motivator of dominance or influencing, or steadiness or influencing? What if there was a combination of all of these that helped these individuals and helped to sort of drive your culture? What kinds of things would we see in the workplace that we're not seeing today, right? That really have an impact and an influence on the work that we're doing. And again, this is about individuals, but helping them do work and helping them help you to win. So if we go to the next slide, most teams, honestly, are unaware of a go-to style. And what I mean by a go-to style is, when I was in college, I used to work on, because I was in school on an athletic scholarship, basketball in specific, I used to work on things that I could do at the end of the game that would help me to score the basketball. And I would watch films of the teams that we were going to play, and I would try to envision in my mind and then translate that onto the practice court things that I could do or what my go-to moves would be at the end of the game. Now, we all sort of have go-to moves, and some of them are productive and some of them aren't so productive. But in this case, we're talking about an idea of a go-to style. If they had, each team member has a go-to style. And so coming to a place of commitment can be blocked sometimes due to basic miscommunications and misrepresentations or misinterpretations, right? And we think we understand something when we really don't. So we have talked before on these calls about that's great, Bruce and Larendee, but you know it's all sort of smoke and mirrors, isn't it? And the answer to that is no, it's not. Actually, we have a tool for you to use. This DISC tool helps us understand what each team member's tendencies or go-tos are. They help. The DISC tool helps us understand how each team member is going to react in a normal conflict type of situation at work. How does each team member respond to different management styles? And how does each team member respond to different leadership styles? What are we seeing is one piece of it from a leadership perspective. Why we're seeing it is another important factor, and this DISC tool helps us evaluate that. We can understand the emotions and the reactions of individual team members. We can. And it's not going through necessarily some sort of lengthy psychoanalysis. It's understanding how people's style reflects their behavior. And with our DISC tool, especially DISC Agile EQ, we're able to help people understand where they are on this scale. Now, if you see this scale, we won't take a lot of time to belabor this, but there are behaviors and styles on the outside of this circle. And at some point, through a very simple questionnaire, individuals can answer questions that gives us an idea of whether they're more, for example, the green triangle, where we're talking about D, or being self-assured, resolute, dynamic, or I, outgoing, empathizing, and so forth. Once we understand that, then we have a sense of how people are going to react and what kinds of things they're looking for as they seek to find satisfaction and enjoyment in their work. So from a practical perspective then, as we understand these responses and reactions, it helps us to understand the emotional regulation for success. What is it going to take for this individual to be successful? Oftentimes I hear from coaches and from supervisors, well, you know, I'd love to help Mary, but Mary doesn't know what she wants. Well, if we use this tool to identify Mary's style, then we can begin to help her flex into a new mindset. And then asking questions like, what is the goal that you would seek? We then have some practical tools to set a new mindset. And then what kind of obstacles might stand in our way? What kinds of things can we clear out of the way so that this employee can eventually understand what they want and how to go about getting it, and how to tie that into what our business needs and what we want for our business look like. So what does life really look like when that person uses that style and behaves in that way? How will you know you're succeeding through this new mindset? Well, sometimes in work it's really easy because it's about widgets, it's about selling certain things, it's about making a certain number of calls and getting a certain number of responses back. But in other times it might be more subtle. It might show up in literally things like, when do they come to work? And how excited are they to be there? And how much are they talking about those projects? Ultimately, whatever we decide are the measurements, we will begin to see more results when we've translated that talent into actual teamwork and performance. And Agile EQ is an impactful and a wonderful tool in order to do that. So Larendee, I'm going to turn the time back to you.
Thank you, Bruce. What we're talking about here is that we're talking about integration. We are looking at, of course, we've talked about before that there are tasks to do, there's jobs to complete. Individuals are hired into companies because there's a belief that they have a certain level of skill set and talent that can help that team grow. And that's true whether we're talking about the receptionist or whether we're talking about the bookkeeper, the controller, even the CEO of an organization. But what very often we get wrong is that we get so focused in on the tasks that need to be completed, and we completely forget that there's a human with a vast variety of emotional uh, pictures that they bring to the table, the lens through which they see the world. So, what emotional EQ does for us, and Agile EQ specifically does, is help us as supervisors and coaches be able to help coach that person to their own accountability and to the taking ownership of their lives, which includes their work. What we see too, and Bruce and I see this over and over again, is that when companies dedicate themselves to this process, supervisors and coaches can actually take this assessment, and then we're going to walk you through how in real life we can utilize it to bring in more self-actualization, more self-awareness, more satisfaction inside of the human, which bleeds over not into just the work life, but also into the personal life. I often share the story that one of the challenges I had when I was in corporate was trying to balance between my personal life and my business life. And what I realized pretty early on is that, but probably not early enough, was that there really is not a personal life and a business life and a spiritual life and a hobby life. They're all integrated. And so to the extent that I can bring more satisfaction into one key focus, it affects our whole life. So the DISC tool is not, again, something that we take one time, we do it in a workshop, and then we put it away until we have another retreat. It's actually something that we use day to day. And when Bruce and I are working with companies, and when all of the consultants who work for Roos Advisors work with companies, when a CEO or a human resource director calls us and identifies that they're having a challenge with one of the team members, we ask them to go back to the DISC, and we ask them to connect to, is this actually behavior that we would expect because this is their go-to? And is there a way for us to work with that employee or that team member to help them bring in additional strengths that they've kind of have lain dormant? So also what we understand with DISC is that there isn't a person who has only one style and therefore they're kind of stuck in that mindset. The truth is that all of us have characteristics in every aspect of the tool because we all are very amazing creations. What very often happens, though, is we can get stuck in ruts. We've talked about in the past our critter state of mind versus our smart state of mind. And so those easy go-tos can become kind of the crutch that we lean on when sometimes there might be another way to look at things. And it's one of the things we always ask ourselves, how can I see this differently? Maybe I'm wrong. I hope I'm wrong about this employee. I hope that I'm wrong about the way that they're showing up and why they're showing up that way. And how can I coach them up and coach them towards higher personal satisfaction, which then will help them to be a better employee as well. Sometimes our people are passionate, but they don't know how to direct that passion. They don't know how to incorporate that passion into their work. And so then what happens is become frustrated, right? So one of the things that someone's asking in the chat, and please feel free to use the chat, and our moderator, Matt, will help us answer your questions on that, is can those go-to moves change? Well, what we identify is that our kind of go-to states, our natural tendencies don't usually change that much. But the beautiful thing is that we can expand and we can bring in other traits and other go-to moves that can be really helpful, not just to our teams, but also to us. So we're going to walk through now this aspect. And so what we're going to do is we're going to pick a mindset that you would like to experience more of. So Bruce already walked us around the wheel of the different mindsets: dynamic, outgoing, empathizing, receptive, composed, objective, resolute, and self-assured. And so what I'm going to look at today is we're going to pick the self-assured, and we're going to look at that. And then we're going to state an example where that type of mindset would have helped us in the past. For example, if I had been more self-assured, I would have interviewed for a promotion. So imagine meeting with a team member and they're struggling in a specific area, and helping them identify where they may be a little weak in a certain area of mindset, and helping them identify that if this mindset were more present and they were more aware of it, how it might be able to shape outcomes for them. Because of course, as human beings, we're always very outcome driven. So once we've identified that, then we ask them, what could a baby step toward experiencing a different mindset look like for you? Well, a baby step toward experiencing a different mindset might be accepting that a new mindset that I am as capable as others. So remember that self-assuredness is something I want more of. It's something that it's not a go-to I consistently go to in this example. So every day, in every way, I'm increasing my abilities. So I'm capable as others, and every day, in every way, I am increasing my abilities. So just to review, we talked about that I want a more self-assured mindset. With a more self-assured mindset, I will give myself the opportunity, and my team members the opportunity, and my company the opportunity to be mentored and to interview for a promotion when it's available. Then with that, one of the things I begin to do today, knowing that this is a goal for me, is I give myself mantras, or I give myself sticky notes, and I remind myself every day that I am as capable as others, and every day in every way, I'm increasing my abilities. Then I look at, of course, the ego is going to step in, because it always does. And that ego is that part of us that keeps us playing small. And so when I look at that, what is the biggest obstacle I will face as I'm trying to bring in this new mindset, as I'm preparing myself to interview for this promotion? Well, likely, and these are just two examples, self-doubt might come in. And because I doubt myself, I may not prepare as well as I might have if I really believed in myself and if I really wanted to go for this promotion, for example. So the biggest obstacle I would face, and I call it out and I'm aware of it, is self-doubt and lack of preparation. So then what's next? What do I do next? How will I overcome this obstacle? What are the action steps that I can take with an increased mindset, or a different mindset, flexing into another area, a different belief? Now, what can I do to overcome the obstacle? Well, I can give myself practical, tactical steps. For one, I might study others who have overcome obstacles. I might read a book. I might go on the internet and I might Google someone that I am very drawn to, or a hero, for example. I might hire a career coach to help me prepare for the interviewing, so that I'm prepared for the prep and the process. So I might hire a career coach that will help me fine tune my resume, or just practice interviewing with me, helping me see how the hiring official might view me in light of everything. So now I've decided what the obstacle I want to overcome, what life will look like. I'm interviewing for a promotion, and the steps that I can take to be more self-assured and more confident. And I've identified how I can overcome the obstacle. So I'm going to study others who've overcome obstacles, and I might hire a career coach to help me prepare. How will I know I'm on the right track? So as humans, but I also think as amazing divine creation and creators and co-creators of a universal consciousness, that we are looking for that we're on the right track. We talked in the past about being in our smart state. And when we're in our smart state, all areas of our limbic system are engaged and intact and firing. And so we're looking for signals that I'm on the right track. And I'll know that I'm on the right track when, number one, I'll be open to feedback where I may have been a bit closed off before. I will be courageous and take the interview for the experience with a winning mindset. So it's part of the experience that I'm looking forward as well, not just the outcome. So imagine helping yourself and your team members to easily work through any challenge they're facing from a different perspective. Because as we know, and many of us have heard this before, that coming to the problem with the same mindset we had, we're going to get the same problem, right? That creating the same steps will get us the same results. And really where it starts is with a different mindset. Then with the different mindset and bringing in all of the aspects of our magnitude, then we're able to create solutions for ourselves that then create solutions for our teams and our companies. So this is the power of tools that are engineered, tried, and proven for successful outcomes. So before I pass the time back to Bruce, I just want to share a really amazing experience that we've had just this week in our organization. I was on a panel about a month ago with New Jersey City University, and they were asking us to share about successes and how to be successful for students who would be graduating, who had just graduated or would be graduating. And there was a young man who reached out to me, and the first time I spoke with him, which was about a week ago. He was a young man who his demeanor was forlorn. He was quite frankly depressed. He really didn't show up for the interview or the interaction with me very present. And yet within him, when I looked past the presence of what I saw and the human of what I saw, I could see within him a deep passion and a desire to do good things in the world. So I agreed to work with him a little bit, and I'm always trying to figure out how we can give back. So Roos Advisors donated a couple of sessions for him, and we actually gave him the DISC Agile EQ. And I gave him some assignments too. I talked to him. Originally, he had said he wanted to find an internship where he could work at a manufacturing place for clothing. And so I accepted that. But when I began to probe a little deeper, what I discovered was that was just something he was settling for. It was something that he thought he probably could do because he had worked in a warehouse before and he had heard that there was, good opportunities in the fashion industry, but he really wasn't connected to it. And when we really got to the bottom of things, he was really connected about gaming. So he's a business management student. And what he was really intrigued about was this idea of gamification, not just playing video games, but how games and playing games can actually be practice tools for building success. So we gave him the DISC Agile EQ, and I asked him to pick an author he was inspired by. So of course picked Steve Jobs. And within a matter of a week, a different young man showed up for us about 2 days ago. And when we walked through the DISC Agile EQ with him, he was able to see for himself areas that he desired to strengthen, muscles he desired to strengthen within himself. And in such a record short period of time, not only because he showed up for himself, but we always talk about that when you show up for yourself and you have a little mustard seed of desire, the universe shows up to conspire to help you. And last evening, I spoke with him, and he indicated that he would really like to connect to a company that had some type of educational component, that he could learn about how young people learn or how adults learn, and how this whole gamification process can lead to success. So we looked at a couple of different aspects, and as I was preparing for this morning, I went onto my Instagram account and I noticed that there was someone who had started following me who was a man who uses gamification in his tutoring process. So I reached out to the man and asked him if it would be possible for this young man to interview for an internship. And the story's still being written on this matter. But the difference between the young man who showed up for me last evening and the man who showed up a week before was the exponential difference that gave me the confidence that this young man was prepared to do whatever it took for his success. So that's just one example of how in record time, using these tools and of self-awareness and then bringing this into other awareness can really be so helpful. So I'm going to turn it over to you, Bruce, to share, maybe an example of how you've been able to use this in the consulting and the coaching that you do, and kind of take us home today. Thanks so much.
Okay, great. I think one of the things that Larendee was talking about in terms of walking us through this very important process, it sort of sounded sort of individual focused, and it is. And I think that's one of the most powerful parts of it. But imagine, as you're thinking about this, we all as supervisors and leaders have this car wreck of how we use our time, right? We're always trying to figure out how to use our time, and we're always restating our goals and things like that. And one of our goals is to have a team that wins and actually performs. So as Larendee was talking, I couldn't help but think, as she's walking through this example of the young man, one of the powerful things that she was able to do is understand the tool and understand the process well enough to help that young man see things differently and to actually do something productive that helped him to change his go-to behaviors in a way, not necessarily radical change, but modify them in a way that allowed him to discover some of these passions. And you might say at this point, well, Bruce, that's great, but I'm a supervisor and I've got so much going on. I've got too much on my plate and I don't have the time to figure every individual out. So I'm going to tell you that you're wrong. And I usually don't speak that directly about any management decisions, but you do have time. Because of tools like this, you can make time to be more efficient. And guess what happens when we take that person who's ambivalent or who's just sort of doesn't do anything wrong but doesn't really drive your business forward? And in that type of a leadership situation, if you knew what their agile EQ was, your coaching would take on a different level. Your coaching could be so much more impactful to help that person discover for themselves how to move forward and how to step up their game, how to be prepared for that interview, how to be prepared to take on that team leadership position, or how to come to work with more juice and more enthusiasm and more willingness to actually be a little bit different and enjoy their job by doing it well. So from my perspective, I'm in the middle right now of coaching an individual who's a chief medical officer who is very driven and very busy. He's starting to learn how to use his time differently to reach out to individual leaders. And he's seeing that as he understands their style and his style, that he's able to talk with them about things that will help them to get a sense of how to perform better through their own decision making and through their own energy level. And I love that about this particular tool and this particular process. Someone once said that it's, as a leader, everyone knows that you can do it, or they believe that you can do it. The task of a leader is to get everyone else to do it and to do it well. We sometimes interpret that as they have to do it the way I would do it. What we're suggesting today is let the individuals that you lead decide the best way for them to achieve the overall goal that you've collectively set and believe in. And I love that this tool helps us to do that. So we have a couple questions, Larendee, and I'm not going to answer these. I'm going to ask you to help me answer them. First of all, we've talked quite a bit about how about the DISC tool and how to use it. Is there anything that you would want to add about that or how it applies to individuals and then teams?
Thank you, Bruce. one of the things that often potential clients will ask us, well, how can you help me? How can this make a difference in my team? Because the truth is that CEOs and leaders of companies have fears just like everyone does. And what I would say is that what we're really gifted at and what we're really good at is, first of all, we believe in your divine, infinite, amazing, incredible magnitude and your ability to co-create and your ability as a leader, as a supervisor, and as a team member, whatever role you're fulfilling at this time, to expand and embrace all of your greatness and every aspect. So that's the first thing. And then secondly, Bruce and I and our consultants at Roos Advisors, we don't believe that we know what's in your best interest, but we know that you do deep within, that your higher consciousness knows everything that you need to know in order to take yourself and your team, your family, your community organization, the nonprofit that you lead, the church that you run, whatever your role that you're fulfilling in life, that within you, you do have the tools and you do know what is necessary. What we're really expert at is helping you uncover what those tools are. And then if you need a few more tools in your tool belt, or you need us to bring a hammer, or you need us to bring a staple gun, we're here for you. And we're out in the world every day. We're committed to our own development and personal development, professional development. So we're always out in the world trying to find new tools that can help support teams, because ultimately our goal is that you as a team, right, have everything that you need to expand. Because what we do know is that 1 + 1 doesn't equal 2, it equals to the power of 2, to the power of 3, to the power of 4. So imagine a team all working together and using Agile EQ daily to expand their go-tos. And then what happens is that you as an organization begin to attract the people who are ready, willing, and able to show up in a different way, a more expansive way, a way that is self-fulfilling and therefore team fulfilling and company fulfilling. So we serve the real estate industry, and all of us know that in order to have a good relationship in real estate, you need buyers and sellers who are ready, willing, and able to take the next step. And what we do know is that when the time is right, we're here for you. When the time is right for your team members, you can be there for them to help water the seeds of greatness within them. And then what happens is a little acorn that falls to the ground becomes a mighty tree. And in that regard, every life continues to be supported and supported amongst community. So Bruce, I'm going to go ahead and have you talk about what we're going to be talking about next week as we kind of wrap up this morning. It's been so great
Yeah, I'm
spending the morning.
happy. Thank you. Happy to do that, and great insights, Larendee. Thank you. So next week, unfortunately, it'll be our final session in this series. We've enjoyed it so much, and we're going to be reviewing growth and succession planning with you, because all this is great, but we want to get some practical application on your end. So we'll talk about when you should grow your team, and how to attract the best team members for your team and what that looks like, how to onboard and train your team members more efficiently, how to coach them up or coach them out, one of those two directions, right? And these are, I think, really practical questions and things that we'll be addressing. When do you promote from within, or when do you recruit externally? And what that looks like, and then creating a succession plan for each of your departments or your divisions. Now, it's going to sound like a lot of homework to some of you, or a lot of work. We are hoping that you will participate and take advantage of this opportunity. And you will see that as we walk you through these steps and these processes, that they're very helpful, and will sort of prime your thinking and get you ready to go forward from there. So we wish you a happy weekend, and we look forward to getting back together next Tuesday at the same time. Thanks for joining us today.